Hello and welcome to the Morningscape podcast. I am Matt Moody, joined by DJ Mitchell here for a Leap Day special. That's right, we're covering the February 29th, Thursday, 12-game slate in the NHL. So DJ, how you doing? You ready for this fine daily fantasy slate up ahead of us?
I'm ready for all of them. Last slate was about as mid as possible. I got my donkey status renewed for another year. I played for all one in one of my builds, so I can keep that on my all of my business cards that I get to renew my donkey status for one more year. I really didn't think they were going to be as high owned as they ended up being, and even impressive stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't fare any better than the Montreal idiots, but that was,
Well,
the most
no,
avoidable, just
we
nonsense
prefer donkey.
possible. Yeah,
Unless
whatever. It's just like, I'm glad the field got punished, but it does suck to come out on the bad end of a day like that where like 20, I'm literally 16% of the field straight up stacked Montreal won. Like not even like, oh, 20, 20, 15 and one-offs. Like no, it was like literally stacks where like 15% of the field had a stack of that, and they were not even a favorite against a horrific Arizona team without Clayton Keller. Like clearly, they're at home. I get it, but Vegas is telling you something when they're not even closing as favorites. Like it was a straight up pick 'em at close. So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, no, and
um,
again, like I said it on the podcast. Of course, I'm sure everyone listens and took notes. And I said I was going to bet Montreal because I thought the plus money was too good to be true. And Vegas was like, not really. And it's like, and I just like, nah, not my priors are right. I'm going to go with it.
yeah,
If they're
well,
wrong, I know more than them. And I won the bet, but at what cost? Because I burned way more than I bet on that in that daily fantasy lineup. And just because of how good New Jersey 2 was, it destroyed my good lineup that had, McKinnon, Lehkonen, JT Miller, and Brock Besser. Just put that one into the absolute inferno. So yeah, I ended up I feel
yeah.
like I really paid for being a donkey yesterday, but the bets were good.
Yeah, I wound up on a Tampa Philly game stack, which yeah, that did not go well. They kind of came close. Tampa missed a couple of empty nets with the goalie pulled that like, you could see that game getting the 4-4 going to overtime. And then I'm, sitting here like, okay, and then I lose to New Jersey stuff anyway. But yeah, no, it was, Vegas smashing, New Jersey smashing. It was pretty easy to see how I could have had a good night because, it's not like Shea Theodore was off my radar, William Karlsson, Marchessault, and then the New Jersey guys. But I wanted to ride with Kucherov, and it failed me. So that's about it.
Yep.
There was a couple teams and stuff that I saw were somewhat interesting in like the qualifier and whatnot, but I don't want to spend too much time on it because 12
Oh yeah,
games,
no, yeah,
just an incredibly lopsided schedule. So we got a lot to cover here. So DJ, do you want to get us started with the
yeah.
matchups?
I do. I was going to say that if you would have asked me yesterday if I was going to play something other than Montreal, what was it going to be in that build? And I was actually going to play Vegas. Like I was like basically going to just Theo Marchessault and William Karlsson. I just watched everything go the other way. But let's get into exactly that game. It's the first one on the docket. It's Vegas at Boston. Just bet the draw now. Boston only plays overtime games. So minus 162 at home against Vegas. And I guess I kind of get it because Vegas is kind of banged up, but I just still think this is a good team. I believe it's the lowest total on the slate. Yeah, it is. It's a 5.5 at, basically a pick 'em. Game two, Montreal. Don't want to talk about it, but they go to Florida to take on the Panthers. Minus 305 for the Panthers. It's a pick 'em on that's a minus 120 on the 6 over. So yeah, huge. It's still a pretty big Florida total, not the biggest, but Carolina at Columbus. Columbus on a back-to-back they're going from New York to Columbus, right? Yeah, going from New
Uh,
York to Columbus. Yeah, yeah,
yes.
that's right. Weird schedule making, but the NHL is not good at it. It's a minus 250 for the Hurricanes on the road, and it's a 6.5 as a minus 105 on the over. The Islanders go to Detroit. It's a 6 over under. It's basically a pick 'em, minus 115 for the Red Wings, so pretty close. Arizona at Toronto. I think everyone's going to hear that and probably instantly think that's an Arizona win because they seem to always beat Toronto in Toronto. I don't know why that is, but I don't think it's going to fare for them well. And the sports books have not adjusted to that narrative at minus 250 to the Maple Leafs, and it's a 6.5 minus 120. Next, we have the Buffalo Sabres at the Tampa Bay Lightning. Referees not working in the Sabres way in Florida, and they, minus 162 favorite Tampa. It's basically a pick 'em again. The home team minus 115 in Nashville. Colorado at Chicago. Not going to be a surprise. Colorado minus 290, 6 over under. Pittsburgh at Seattle. It is a 6 over under plus money on the 6. So one of our lower totals. Again, another basic pick 'em almost with a minus 115 on the home Kraken. LA at Vancouver. Minus 142 Canucks. It's a 6 over under. And finally, the battle we've all been waiting for all season, although we get it all the time. Anaheim is at the San Jose Sharks. It is a minus 125 for the road Ducks, plus 105 on the Sharks, minus 115 on that 6 over under. So only a couple, three 6.5s on the entire slate. Everything's basically a 6. So yeah, let's listen to you read stuff.
Yeah, no, we're technically on Eichel watch, but I don't anticipate him returning. But if he's healthy in Boston, I'm sure he would love to play. So he skated with the team, but I'm not sure if we have news there yet. And we're keeping an eye out for Saturday, by the way, because they returned to Buffalo, which Eichel is interesting. Therefore, otherwise, I think it's a pretty clean slate. We're not expecting Keller to play. We're keeping an eye on Nichushkin. Kempe was, a late addition to the injury report after our Monday night podcast for Tuesday, but he's going to be out for the foreseeable future. But nothing else really of, too much note to cover off the top. So let's, before we go game by game, talk about the sponsor of this podcast. Yes, that is right. DraftKings sponsors this great show. So we know hockey games move fast, but with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, you can score faster than anything happening on the ice. This week, new customers can bet $5 and get 200 instantly in bonus bets. DJ just ran through all of those lines for you, so have at it. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app with code THPN, the Hockey Podcast Network, THPN. New customers bet just $5 on the NHL and get 200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code THPN. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/hockey for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. NHL and the NHL Shield are registered trademarks of the National Hockey League. I believe on Monday we're getting some new sports betting states in, North Carolina, one of them. So if you got any friends there and like, hey, make an account, yeah, it'd be cool to send them our way, since obviously almost everyone listening to the show has a DraftKings account. But that's one way you can support the show beyond, just playing on DraftKings where you normally do. They don't really know that we sent you, but I got to imagine the vibes will come back to us in some sort of karmic fashion. In any case,
they will know.
Yeah,
they'll know
exactly.
when they start tailing my bets, and all of a sudden the sports books are limiting you because your boy's on the heater. Okay, let's get right into it. While you were talking about that, I did take a look because I was like, I know the Boston narrative is kind of hitting the waves. 6 straight one-goal games for the Boston Bruins. And I don't think all of them went to overtime, but I think a large portion of them did. They, like I said, are home against Vegas. I was pretty certain that Eichel couldn't play until Saturday with the IR, but I could be wrong. So yeah, I guess keep an eye on it. But I thought the tentative date was Saturday, mentioned by one of the beat reporters, or maybe it was Cassidy or something. But yeah, no, still a great narrative built game. Should be fun. So I'm ready to get right into it if you are.
Yeah, I don't have anything definitive on Eichel, so yeah. I mean, we can start there.
Sure. I mean, we'll start with Vegas. If they were just, again, assuming they're going to keep what they had last game. If you watched any of that game, it seemed like all of the announcers were like, man, this Shea Theodore guy hasn't skipped a step. He is right back to doing Shea Theodore things. And I was just smiling, watching him just do all the Shea Theodore things. 7 shot attempts per game over the 4 games since he's returned. Power play run, 22 minutes, just the clear catalyst of offense on that team. Playing with McNabb, and McNabb just kind of hangs back. They were out there for a number of the goals for he was on the first power play, of course. They didn't score on the power play, but he still was out there. Marchessault, Carlson, Amadio, Stephenson. So that's going to be your first unit. Yeah, I definitely have at least a small amount of interest here because I don't think it's going to be very popular. It's not all that expensive to play Marchessault, Carlson, and Theodore, like 6,200 Theodore, 6,600 Marchessault, and 5,400 William Karlsson. I don't really have a problem with that stack. I just don't think Boston has actually been all that great defensively, and they have been leakier in net than normal. But I think that even the goaltending actually hasn't been as bad as maybe that I'm making it sound. Like they're actually giving up a fair amount of chances against. So yeah, I could be in on this. Yeah, a team that loses to Seattle, and it was pretty even, pretty fair. Other than that, one call that probably, Morgan Geeky probably gets that goal. I'm fine with this Vegas stack.
Yeah, so I mean, the first thing that jumped out at me was that, obviously they had Vegas had a strong performance against the Maple Leafs, but still over the last 10, their underlyings look pretty gnarly, as do the actual results. They're letting in goals, they are allowing a lot of chances against. So Boston does profile as a pretty good matchup here. So that's, worthwhile to consider on its face. Expected goal pace, this game is a half goal above every other game, so it's not like Vegas is in a poor spot here either. So it's pretty attractive right off the bat. It looks like Cassidy today said he doesn't expect Eichel to play. I don't know if that means, maybe you're right in that he literally can't, and it's health that he's just commenting on, or whether there's actually a chance. So we could do some more reconnaissance there. In any case, it seems more than likely that they stick to Carlson, Marchessault sort of as their main guys, and I doubt that would change if Eichel returns. That would just kick off Amadio from the top power play and would improve things. So I think in general, I'm pretty interested in chasing those points. Shea Theodore is 6,200 since his return, has 8 points, 24 points, 13 points, 29 points. He's been incredible all season long, of course, averaging over 13 fantasy points a game. Let's just contextualize that. On the slate, we have Makar 8,300, Roman Josi 7,900, Noah Dobson 7K, Rasmus Dahlin 7,500. Those are the only guys averaging more points a game than Shea Theodore. Like, this is just very much so a guy who can get it done. He's probably too cheap for the price tag, or too cheap for his production, and the matchup looks like a pretty attractive one. So I think you could get away also with chasing some did they move Amadio to center? Where the hell is he? Is he dead? Nope, 3,100. Oh, I have it sorted by fantasy points. I'm like, okay, that makes far more sense. Yeah, 3,100. Michael Amadio played 18 minutes last game, 19, 17 games before that. Seems like he's sort of picking up some of the Mark Stone role, which, he's not Mark Stone, but he's 3,100. So it's point dependent, but I would stack him with Shea Theodore, no problem. So that's the Vegas thoughts. I know you mentioned some stuff on Boston, but I will just reiterate Pastrnak with DeBrusk. DeBrusk really softens the price tag if that sticks. So I do like that a good amount.
Yeah. Zaka, the center there. DeBrusk did get, I mean, it kind of felt like Pastrnak just never came off the power play, which is probably just exactly what they did. So you're not actually losing too much if they just don't score early on the power play. One of the losers they have out there is going to come off for him to come on. I was just going to mention one more time, and I said it right at the beginning, but this is the lowest total on the entire slate from Vegas right now, and the game doesn't really profile that way. So again, I think you're gonna get really low ownership on a game that profiles well. So if the goaltending is just bad, you could be really sitting pretty, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And we could get some overtime, as you noted, with Boston. Um, let's see. I wanted to note that they have been really, really flexible with that power play one. It's basically been Marchand, Pasternak, McAvoy, and then a revolving door of guys. So if DeBrusk is playing well, I don't think there's a huge barrier to him getting like a chunk of power play one time. In any case, they've been really rotating that hard for the last week or two. So yeah, that's about all I have though. So anything else before we move on to the next game?
Nope. Next, we have Montreal at Florida. The only note getting into this is that, Verhage did miss the end of the game against Buffalo, and they didn't actually give much of an update. He took a puck to the face. So keep an eye on it. I mean, normally that doesn't keep guys out, but you never know for sure. So I'm expecting him to be back. I'm expecting him to be business as usual, but just at least double check that, especially because this is going to be a very popular, uh, you know, uh, game in general, especially on the Florida side of things. And that, of course, keep an eye on warmups. Matt the Chuck came back, and I said I had concerns and hesitations. He played 22 minutes. He had like 100 shot attempts. He scored on the power play, but he honestly didn't even shoot that puck. So he passed it into the net off a player. But he did have a ton of shots and a ton of volume, and was just absolutely not hindered at all. So definitely, he's back to being great. Montour has been on a roll. I think as soon as he heard how much he had hurt me betting, he decided this guy's not going to give up. I'm going to be good now. And I did give up. But he has a ton of primary points, just points in general, power play points, just very, very, very involved over the last, eight games or so. I could be convinced really on anything for Florida. I could also just be convinced to stay away from this game because I do think that they limit Montreal to a very low amount of volume. And if that top line doesn't get it done in Montreal, I don't expect them to find secondary scoring again like they did against Arizona. And I could see this game being pretty lame.
Yeah, I mean 5K Yuri Slavkovsky, 7K Cole Caulfield. The prices are just, I mean, it's about right for a totally together power play one, line one stack that's performing well. This is not a good matchup. They're on the road, just no interest. On the Florida front, I mean, it's really the same thing as before the Buffalo game, where they're clearly superior. You're getting some value in Bennett and Cousins alongside Matthew Tkachuk, though of course the Verhage Reinhart Barkov stack for 21.8 is also very good, just ungodly expensive and hard to fit stacks around. So I don't really have much interest in this game. We missed Brandon Montour night. He is now 5,600. He had the points bonus, he had the shots bonus against Buffalo. Yeah, I don't think I'm chasing points there. Like, I get it. But there's a lot of D options, and Montour's price tag, his underlyings don't really support him approaching like Shea Theodore type status. So I'll let people chase that and correlate and do whatever else they want with this spot. So worth noting that Montreal's defensive numbers don't look nearly as bad as their goal suppression numbers are. And maybe that's a thing because they're not exactly employing the best goalies in the league, but it's not like this is a phenomenal expected goal spot for Florida, at the very least. So yeah, that's about it. Nothing really here that I'm interested in playing. Probably if I had to pick a line here, it'd be Florida too. Just continuing to play Nick Cousins until he puts up like 15, which obviously it's unlikely he does, but 2,600, if he puts up 9 like he did last slate, you're fine. And anything more than that, you're very happy. So that's what I would do until they price Nick Cousins appropriately for playing alongside Matthew Tkachuk for 13 minutes a night.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Right.
I don't really have anything else to add. We can move over to Carolina, Columbus. Columbus, I think, yeah, they are the only team on a back-to-back here. They're already not very good, and they're clearly in a very, very, very bad matchup. Not any real interest on my end for Columbus. They're a value option. The Russian line is very cheap and one that I'm considering every time they're out there in Voronkov, Marchenko, and Chinikov. But this might be one that I'm just not going to actually get involved with. Anything on Columbus before we talk about Carolina for a minute?
I mean, the pricing on Columbus is awfully appealing. Like, it's clearly a very low percentage type play, but we're talking about Columbus 2 being fully correlated, playing a lot of power play time as well. 4,600 Marchenko, 4,500 Chinikov, and 4,200 Voronkov. You're talking less than 13K for a line that is, I mean, they have multiple smash games in their last, I don't know, 10, 20 games. So yeah, it's a tough matchup, but they are the home team. That does not mean nothing. And you get really cheap D to pair with it in Provorov and Severson in matchups for them where, like Carolina obviously suppresses offense, but Provorov and Severson are, definitely guys that can hit a blocks bonus. So you really only need a couple goals to get there. Like Carolina can win 4-2, and this could still be a reasonable stack if Marchenko has 5 shots and Chinikov has a multi-point game and Provorov has an assist in the blocks bonus. Like you shouldn't just X out Columbus because of their team total. I do think we've seen the Gaudreau price and Boone Jenner's been this high for a while. Those have risen to the point where I'm not that interested in chasing them on this slate in a bad matchup, but I do think Marchenko, Chinikov are too cheap to the point where I think you do have to consider them despite the tough matchup. Carolina is like they're just going to keep hanging this Svechnikov price and we're just going to keep biting, and they just don't really feel like a team that's super serious about putting up 7 goals ever. So I just, I kind of want to feel like that's in my range of outcomes before I'm, going all the way in. But, I don't know. I guess, what do you think about that? Because New Jersey was kind of in a similar situation where it was like, yeah, this is obviously a good spot. We were just like, well, they're not doing it, and then they go out and absolutely nuke. So, like, do you feel like this is similar, or do you feel like they're just two very different teams, different players, etc., that we're talking about stacking?
I mean, it's different, but I guess the thing about Carolina that I like is Michael Bunting, really. And I honestly was thinking, like, could you just play Svechnikov? Like you're saying, are they going to score 7? Okay, yeah. I mean, most nights it's very unlikely a team scored 7, but if they score 4 or 5, I really think like Bunting, Svechnikov, Nachos, Aho could in that storm, like that could be what you needed. And really you don't have to play all of them. You could find the perfect scenario. I think when the cards turn over, I'm very, very, very likely going to have Michael Bunting in my lineup at 3,600. I don't understand the price. He had 5 power play shots, or was it 4? 4 power play shots. One of them hit the post. He's just been very much used and involved in this offense and for a while now. The results haven't followed to an amazing extent, but he's just very consistently getting close. He had the one game against Chicago that would definitely be a pretty much must-have type of situation on a smaller slate with 22. And I find that to be right back in his range of outcomes again. So yeah, Michael Bunting at 3,600, I think is a flag plant for me. And you could very easily convince me to play it with a lot of guys because a power play run, I think it's very likely he gets it done through the power play. Svechnikov is the guy that's going to, if not shoot on the power play, move the puck to a guy like him to shoot. Aho as well. So I could find it, or you could just go with the 5-on-5, the Drury Nachos. I'm fine with really anything here. So I really, really like the Michael Bunting price quite a bit. And I think I've talked about him probably every slate. And this matchup just even more so, I could talk myself into it. I could confirm these priors more than they played Florida, for example. I like this.
Yep. So I was just pruning. If you're on the YouTube, I was pruning the expected fantasy point per dollar because, there's some guys like Dakota Joshua who are hurt, not playing. So I just wanted to get rid of those obvious guys. But once we do that, and I think all these guys are in, Michael Bunting is the sixth best value on the slate, just strictly based on his last 10 games and sort of the shots he's putting up, the expected goals generation and like primary assists and whatnot. So yeah, it's obviously a very good spot, good player, and
but yeah, he's the only one on the top power
that makes a
play
lot of sense
in this mix. Like for a while down the line, I'm trying to find one. I mean, until you get to Matt Boldley, who's really not that much of a value. He just is because they don't price him at all correctly.
Mm-hmm.
But again, the upside is much higher, I think, on Michael Bunting than most of these values. And I think you could find it pretty easily here. So, you know what? It could blow up in my face.
Okay.
And I think blowing up in my face is like 5 points. But, I think it could also,
Yes.
at 22, it's very in the range of outcomes.
A very similar play to Tyler Bertuzzi and so keep an eye on ownership between those guys because they do feel very, very similar in that their floor is literally like 3, like they could easily go out and get you 3 fantasy points, but they're in great matchups. They're in good spots to get you, 20, 25, that you would also not be surprised. Okay, I like that. So let's move over to the Islanders and Detroit. What do you got for me here?
These kind of feel like the two teams I hate and love the most in many different ways. I really am interested in this game. I don't know. The thing is, the Red Wings, it feels very obviously unsustainable, the scoring they've had recently, and just exemplified to the max by the 8 goals they had on Tuesday.
Yep.
Very spread out through the lineup. It just kind of feels like everyone's scoring and everyone, like the coach is saying, please 1 in 4 shots into the back of the net. And they're like, I guess we have to do that. Then the coach said, and they are. I don't find that to be something I want to bet on. Scoring 8 on a 3 expected fantasy or expected goals is just, not going to happen very often. I kind of lean the other way here. Towards the Islanders side of things, and I think I'm going to fade Detroit. I just think that like the path to the peak outcome is, it's been priced up now because of this scoring, and Patrick Kane is probably correctly priced at 6,400. He's no longer 6K. It's not that big of a difference, but it's starting to lean that way. You're kind of on your last leg here before I think it's really priced out of consideration. The Islanders also feel a little bit expensive, but I actually feel like there's more to them hitting that peak. So I don't know. This game, again, like I want to just say, maybe not. There's something about it though, with the concentration of minutes on the Islanders that keeps me coming back because I don't think they're going to be very popular.
Yeah, no, that's I think the case. Again, we've touted the Islanders. I mean, maybe I'm just thinking of one time, but I'm pretty sure we've touted the Islanders before, and the projections do actually really like the Islanders. So be mindful of that. The major players in the industry, like Stochastic, Roto Grinders, see what they have as far as ownership and projections are concerned. But for the time being, I mean, yeah, Noah Dobson. Whenever like guys like Mayfield are out of the lineup, just seems to be an auto shots or blocks bonus. He picks up a lot of defensive minutes, and I honestly think even if Mayfield comes back, he's earned the right to keep those minutes anyway. But you see, he's almost averaging the blocks bonus per game over his last 10. And yeah, he's 7,000, but like this is clearly a guy who can triple bonus, like a goal, 2 assists, 5 shots, 3 blocks is, I mean, just not even a surprise, I would say, given the season he's had. And you know exactly who to stack him with, like you said. You get the Barzal Horvat, you get the Nelson Palmieri. Those are 3-man power play stacks that are super clean.
Not
what do you got?
Not so fast because it's Nelson Horvat Barzal last game, and they ran lines today in practice, and they kept it.
Even better, because Kyle Palmieri freaking
even better.
stinks.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, yeah. So Palmieri was still on the top power play, but yeah.
Yep.
So,
no,
good. But yeah, they had 25,
there,
25, and 22 minutes. Yeah, and that did. That's why I was. If you saw me on YouTube, I was like, let me double check. Yeah, they ran it in practice. I'm gonna retweet it right now, actually. So yeah.
Okay.
So again, it's expensive, but it's not undoable.
Yeah, no, that's just making me think about down the lineup, who's even, clearly in some matchup the second center has to play more minutes, but it does not look like last game there was anything for like JG Pageau. I mean,
No.
17 minutes is fine, but doesn't really move the needle for me on a 12 game slate. So yeah, no, just an interesting one for sure.
Hmm.
I mean, is Detroit just going to keep scoring like this until the end of time? Because Patrick Kane has 14 points in his last 10, only 22 shots. But he does make the expected fantasy point list. So this is partially because he has a really strong primary assist rate over that span, which, he's Patrick Kane. That's not a huge surprise that he's, not just feasting on secondary assists, that he's the actual playmaker here. But 6,400 is a little bit, kind of like, okay, really, like what more does he need to do? Sort of the Matt
Yeah.
Boldy mold, where like, let's see, nope. Okay. That's right. I think I tried to do this last show as well, where I tried to change it live, and because it's not the main slate, because it's the next day slate, I don't have it set up to filter based on actual fantasy points. But basically, Patrick Kane is smashing, and
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
not a surprise to anyone who's game log watching. So any interest in Patrick Kane here, because he's in a very similar place where he's playing with the good players, and they're even cheaper than the Islanders guys.
Yeah, I feel like I was trying to say like I think he's getting too expensive, and then I was kind of realizing he hadn't. So I'll just fully take back that he's not too expensive, but I'm also
Mm-hmm.
not going to play him here. That power play garbage, it's Fabry, Sprong, Cider, Kane, DeBrincat, no Larkin. It kind of, I mean, again, like I guess you get one off him. I just don't think I'm going to do it. I mean, DeBrincat's shooting again, although I mean not a ton, but more. Um, what do we have for Kane? 5.2 shot attempts per game over the last 5. I don't know. I just find this entire experiment to be like I'm going to pay about the same price if I include Larkin more for Detroit when I would rather play the Islanders. I think I'm just
Yeah.
gonna. I'm just not
All in
going to do
all,
Detroit.
I'm not playing into this game. There's really nothing as far as pace or even actual goals or anything that really stands out, and I don't trust either of these power plays to be like, oh yeah, like I gotta sort of override the what we're seeing index wise and team totals wise, because like, oh yeah, this power play could smash. Like I just don't really see that being very likely outcome here. So I'm generally out on this game. But if it fell into like, oh yeah, last guy in, I'm using cheap stacks, Noah Dobson, sure, why not? Come on down. Guys like that, I'm always fine, sort of finding room for a one-off. Arizona, Toronto. Yeah, what do we have
Mhm.
here? Is Keller with the team? I believe he's
Yeah.
with the team.
I don't know, honestly. I didn't really read
Okay.
anything today about him.
Okay.
Day to
Let me
day,
take a look.
you could, yeah, yeah, you look. I'll talk about Toronto for a second, and you already hit the main note. It's just this Tyler Bertuzzi thing is aggravating because unfortunately, I don't know. We haven't missed the boat because he's not that expensive, but man, he's going to be pretty chalky here. And they're putting him out there with Domi and Nylander. They kind of got caved in against Vegas. That was the line they took the biggest advantage of. Nylander can play. I really don't think Domi and Bertuzzi are all that great, but Bertuzzi on that top power play does make it move a little bit. I think I'm Matthews, Marner, or nothing here. That's just the way I'm going to do it and avoid the, talking myself into 8,400 Nylander on a line that I don't really like, just to fit in a player that I think is going to be way too high owned as people chase these points. And I get it. Like he's hit a shots bonus and a blocks bonus in his last 2. He had a 40 freaking 4 with a hat trick against Colorado. I totally understand the play, and it's definitely a good play at that price. I'm going to go the other way though. Like I'm really, really going to try to find a way to get Marner Matthews, and I might not play anything else with it, but you could play Bertuzzi with it if you wanted to be different. You could do that.
Yeah. The main concern that I have is I'm expecting this to be very popular, and the Coyotes are
Yep.
just not playing in up tempo. Like they're not allowing a ton of chances against. And like, yeah, at some point they have the same goalies. It's not like I'm sitting here saying their goalies don't matter, but if the field is like, yeah, dude, like they're this is gonna smash, like they played really well against Montreal. Like we said, they completely shut down Montreal 1, whatever that's worth. And the field knows that Toronto just put up like 8 on Arizona on Friday. Like it just sucks that we're sort of needing to go back to this on a 12 game slate. But again, with Kucherov, with McKinnon on the slate, and being just more attractive generally, more attractive from a fantasy perspective, and no offense, Mr. Austin Matthews. I don't really see myself playing in Toronto here. Maybe stubborn, maybe it's, but that's just sort of how I'm reading this and how I'm sort of thinking through the Arizona situation. So with that said, I would probably try to fill in an Arizona piece if I was playing Toronto, because there is a ton of value on the Toronto side or on the Arizona side of things. Still, we saw Michelli hit 4 shots on goal last game, played 21 minutes, pretty much exactly what we were hoping for. So 3,800, 11 fantasy points isn't going to make or break, but if he's playing like this, he will have the opportunity to put up a whole lot more than just 11 fantasy points. And if he does, that's how you put the Matthews, the Marner stuff into overdrive, as far as really blowing the roof off the slate and putting up 40 bombs, 50 bombs they're not win conditions. You don't need that to win, but if it happens, they are a win condition, especially with ownership. So that is how I would do it. That is what I would recommend you at least consider, because it does seem like the opportunity really centralized around Michelli's stick in particular, with nobody else really seeing a dramatic increase in their role on Tuesday.
Yeah, two notes to that. Number one, it was Vincelli who took over the top power play role. He had 3 of those shots on that top power play. Super valuable. The other guy shooting on that power play had 13 shot attempts, only 4 on goal as 1 hit the post, and that was Dylan Guenther. So, the role got slightly bigger for Guenther as well, not to the same magnitude, but 17 minutes for him. And like I said, he had 13 shot attempts. It's a little more expensive, but I mean, I think he is just projectably going to be a better player in the long run. So I do think that's starting to come together, and I could be convinced on either of them. Neither I don't think will be all that popular, and I do think Michelli at 3,800 is an absolute that's a steal. And I definitely agree. Like you think like Toronto's going to break the slate with all those other guys, they probably need to get pushed. And there's some really really easy obvious 2 players right there. They weren't correlated at 5-on-5, just the power play, but it makes a ton of sense. That's where the offense and the explosion could come from.
Yep. All right. So, and then of course, I did not find anything concrete on Clayton Keller, so he could play. And then, honestly, I would have less interest because Clayton Keller is really expensive, and that vacuum would just sort of be sealed up, and there's really nothing to gain. So, let's head over to Buffalo and Tampa. Kucherov coming off of he played 23 minutes in this one, but I'm pretty sure he just sat out the final 3 to 4 minutes. Like they were down after they let up the empty net, but he played the entire third period. It felt like so yeah, that was pretty interesting and fun to watch as someone who's sweating Kucherov. You always like to have your guys being on the ice rather than watching their idiot teammates skate around. So just found that sort of interesting. They're rolling 11-7, so he's getting a lot of interesting the deployment combinations. So Kucherov is clearly a standout play. DJ, can we say that the Buffalo Sabres are not a train wreck defensively without it immediately becoming a train wreck defensively? Because it feels like every time we say that, they're just like, they're just gonna once every 4 games they just absolutely melt down. It feels like.
I mean, yeah, they played Florida. That is tough. They were competitive enough in that game with Florida, and honestly had chances to take that game that I think it's tough for anyone, to be honest.
Well,
Any team could struggle there. So I will give them an out.
They still
Okay.
so what's interesting is they were competitive and they still gave up a 28 bomb to Kachuk and I guess only 13 for Sam Bennett. So I guess but I saw them at the top of the leaderboards just based on how Tuesday's slate played out.
Well, they were in the penalty box all game too. I mean, they literally got a 4-minute major because Cousins just exploded and then was fine. And then Granado got so mad about a call they took an additional, we're 5-on-4. And I mean, they spent a lot of time in the box. I'm willing to write that one off a little bit and not entirely. I still think Kucherov's an amazing play. Like, it doesn't really matter because I don't think people are going to be
Yep.
going to him here. And I laid out the case last show about exactly why I like Tampa 1. I think you listened and I didn't listen to myself. And Tampa 1 should have got there. I mean, they were far superior in that game and they lose 6-2. And that top line played, a metric ton of time. Just once in a while, Philly's going to Philly. And that happens. I think that this Buffalo team is no better than Philly defensively, probably worse. So, yeah, I definitely understand why you play it. And I think you could honestly just one-off on the back end a Tage Thompson at this point. 10.2 shot attempts per game over the last 5. I think I'm just going to say I'm in. He's kind of starting to score a little bit once in a while when he feels like it. But 3 straight games with the shot bonus. And 4 of the last.
There you go.
The shots are there. Like, how does Tampa put Kucherov on the ice for 25 minutes? Tage Thompson's, could be a very easy catalyst to success. And the Sabres aren't very good. And I mean, God, man, Tage Thompson this year, it's disappointing. And I do think it's coming together, though. Like I'm saying, all of a sudden these shot numbers are back, which means that he's probably playing a little bit better than he was when the shot numbers weren't there. So, you know what? I say, why not? Consider it. I am also considering that, Buffalo Skinner, the Skinner Tage Tuck, Darlene, it's not undoable to play. I mean, how much? It's got to be like the same price as playing Islanders 1. Yeah, it's cheaper, I
Sure.
think.
Yeah.
It's got to be cheaper.
Yeah,
actually.
that would be cheaper. Yeah.
Pretty close to
So
cheaper.
DJ putting on his homer pants, and he's gonna eep on into this one. I wish you good luck there, sir. Andrei Vasilevsky allowed 4 goals last game on 1.1 expected goals against. I mean, that is just an absolutely pathetic performance. You could argue that. You could argue that the lights were not functioning, so maybe that's a little strange one there for Vasi, but so like Tampa's not really allowing much. I don't think Vasi will be this cold forever. Maybe it continues, but clearly I'm not betting on the Sabres to score a boatload here. So like Tage and Darlene are fine. Skinner and Tuck are just, I mean, they're done. Like they should not be on the top power play. Like I'm pretty sick of it myself. So whatever. We move on. Value wise, I don't see much of anything. Hagel shows up because he's unbelievable, but he's 5,500, so he's not like a cheapy value. And obviously, with all of the minutes going to guys like Kucherov, Nick Paul without top power play billing has goals in 3 of his last 4 games, kind of randomly, but that's it's a little too thin for me, I think, on this type of a slate. So I'd rather just go elsewhere for my value pieces. Peyton Krebs is just he's not going to get there, even with his power play 2 time, believe it or not, because he's just not playing enough. So that's fine. So no interest here on anything, and we will keep moving forward to Winnipeg and Dallas. The Logan Stankoven show. How's it treating you, DJ?
I bet him. I think I bet him for a goal. Yeah, I bet him for a goal against the Islanders. So he's given me something in my life. But 3 points in 3 games, 2 goals and an assist. Scored with 18 seconds in, it felt like, against Colorado. I don't remember what it was. He scored really early in that one, and then they ended up getting pumped. I don't know. I mean, this is a weird game because it feels like 2 mid-tier stacks I continuously find myself around. Winnipeg 1 is not quite as mid-tier as maybe I'd like them to be, but 2 stacks I definitely love. And I love Morrissey. I love Heiskanen. I love Harley. I kind of love everything here. I don't know if I really have a strong feeling on either side of things. I might be convinced to go back to Dallas, and I think that my mental psyche can't handle going back to Dallas one more time and getting just shellacked. And this feels like the actual game that it feels like that'll happen in. So maybe because they should have gotten there before and haven't, that this is the one they finally get there. And then I cry anyways. So I think Dallas is a good play. I don't know if I'm going to actually play it.
Yeah. Look, I've been very wrong about a lot of things, but looking at Jamie Ben's, like, not necessarily his performance, but him and Wyatt Johnston's performance as a duo, and sort of seeing like, oh yeah, there's a ton of expected goals while he's out there. Wyatt Johnston is a certified assassin.
Dude,
Jamie
this
Benn.
is exactly
But
what I looked at.
here,
This is exactly what I pulled up when I went over one time. It was like a 12-game Saturday slate. And I'm like, isn't it weird that Wyatt Johnston has just taken Rube Hintz and Jason Robertson to the next level? Same thing you're pulling up again, looking at these courses. And it's just like, is this Wyatt Johnston just is he just unbelievable? Like, is he
yeah,
just,
um,
it just is that. Like, that's the common denominator.
yeah. So I mean,
It's unreal.
and what we're getting is we're getting Johnson with Ben. They could blow up the lines, so they were on a back to back, so we don't know what exactly they're going to roll out on Thursday. But we did get what I'm trying to confirm. Yeah, we got Johnston, Ben, Stankoven as like the
Yep.
you know uh, the second line, third line, whatever you want to call it. Without Sagan, it's not like Duchesne's going to play 20 minutes. So I feel really confident that Johnston is an elevator. He's 4,800. So like that's, whatever. And then Ben and Stankoven are combined 7K. Like, I mean, you're getting a really cheap stack in what is looking like a surprisingly decent matchup. Winnipeg a little weak on the expected goals against over the last 10. They're giving up shot attempts more than average. Yeah, they're not giving up a ton of goals, but Hellebuck can break in one game. Like, it's not a huge deal to me. And they're cheap enough to where, okay, they only got me one goal. Yeah, I might actually be able to survive that because Jamie Benn kills penalties. He can stand there and be dumb and get a blocks bonus and have a point on the goal. Johnson can have 5 shots and a point, and Stankoven can score the goal, and there you go. You're getting value for that stack. So, while I like the top line, I get it. Robertson, Pavelski, Hintz. I do think I would sort of try to use like the super value from Johnston's line to unlock a more, either a top tier stack elsewhere or 2 top tier defensemen like Shea Theodore, Noah Dobson, or something like that. That sort of gives me a very unique build that I think has a clear path to first place regardless. So I don't have any interest in the Winnipeg side on the road, just not really interested. But that's my thoughts on this game.
Yep, I think that's the correct read. It's just wherever Wyatt Johnston goes, I go at this point. If he gets back with Robertson, Hintz, I go back to it. Until then, this helps you get Colorado. This helps you get Toronto. Do what you got to do. So I'm good with fading Winnipeg. We can move over to Minnesota, Nashville. Again, this is a game that had a 6 over under, and it was basically a pick 'em, which I don't know. It's not really that surprising, but these are two teams kind of fighting for that last wild card spot, and Nashville's starting to run away with it as they rattle off wins. This Nashville team went out, and I don't know if anyone's ever had a more dominant third period when already up in a game than Nashville did against Ottawa, where they, I think, had like 22
they outshot them 19 to nothing,
19,
and it was like
19-0.
37-2 in shot attempts. Just absurd.
Yeah, if you go to HockeyViz and look at the shot pressure chart, it's quite hilarious.
That is.
Oh yeah,
that is.
Oh, you pull it up. Pull it up. I mean, we're on the YouTube.
That is very funny. I didn't even
right
think
there.
to do that.
You already passed. It is the first thing.
Oh yeah. Why is it black? I was looking for the red. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
And then
nothing to be
there it
found.
goes. Yeah, there is 2 small humps, and then Nashville is just.
Well,
I don't even know what you call that. It's a beautiful artwork. Yeah, no, I mean, I think this Nashville team is really not that bad. And I went over. I played Nashville. I ended up doing the Evangelista McDonough thing, and not played Roman Yossi on Roman Yossi night, but I did bet him, so I mentally hedged. The top line was great. Every line was good. I mean, they dominated, and I once again think you could go back and play Nashville, and basically everything we said last time holds exactly true. Novak on that top power play still. That was what we said. I mean, there's really nothing that's going to change here. So McDonough played a ton of time, killed penalties, I think he had what? Oh, he had the assist. I was gonna say he kind of almost got there. Yeah, he had the assist, one shot, one block. I mean, what are your thoughts on Nashville? Like I said, I feel like I could be talked into a lot.
Yeah, I don't have any interest in attacking this Minnesota team. Yeah, they've given up some goals, but they're systematically one of the better teams in the league just for the last several years. And we're talking about in the exact same game. I mean, very similar prices. Kaprizov, Eriksson Ek. I mean, Boldy is far superior 23rd option you get from Nashville, and he's not that much more expensive than Gus Nyquist. So like, I just prefer playing Eriksson Ek, Kaprizov, Boldy, but I understand like the allure of Forsberg Yossi coming off the game Yossi just had, and this Minnesota team, blah blah blah, historically funnel shots through D-men. It makes sense. I just think dollar for dollar, I much prefer Minnesota here. So yeah, that's what I'll do personally. But I can't really find any faults by chasing these Yossi points or playing Gus Nyquist to score his 97th consecutive empty net goal. Like it's totally fine by me.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. I think yeah, that's good. So I mean, again, Minnesota, you already basically said it, but I think it's all or nothing. I mean, that top line plays so many minutes. I mean, it's expensive,
Yeah.
sure. Boldly is still a great value, but I think as far as the upper echelon of tier, stacks on this slate, they are just as good as playing Colorado 1. They're just as good as playing Toronto, and they're going to come in at much lower ownership. So I absolutely love them as well. I love this game. I really do like this game. Like I could see either side of it myself. I almost think I like the Minnesota side. Like if you played like that Dallas you just talked about in Minnesota, I think you have, as they call it, a total shipper. I'll leave now.
The
I'll go.
North Star stack.
Oh,
They're your guiding light.
There you go.
They're your guiding light to money. There you go.
Yeah.
All right.
You're showing Brock
Colorado,
Faber. Tell me more.
No, he's terrible. Just don't play him. It's very funny
to
see him
Perfect.
not get any points and not do anything because he doesn't do anything for fantasy. Colorado, Chicago, Colorado, Chicago. You got it. Okay, Nathan McKinnon. He's playing with Arturi Lehkonen, who is still 5,100 for some reason. Just know that it's going to be obscenely popular. If McKinnon puts up 40, you can still beat him by having two mid-tier stacks that score 25 to 30. McKinnon gets there pretty much on his own without bringing anyone by default, so stacking him is sometimes useful, sometimes it doesn't matter. I don't know. Like, I'm not really sure how you get to a strong decision one way or the other on Nathan McKinnon. I will say Rantanen and McCarr feel too expensive for the other options available to us on this slate. Like they're both great plays, but there's so many great plays at likely similar or less ownership to where I don't feel overly compelled to chase Colorado on the road into Chicago, where it's like, yeah, like fine, but not perfect by any means.
All right, yeah. There's one way I play this game if I get to it, and that is McKinnon, Lehkonen, and Bedard.
Jonathan Drouin. No? Okay.
Lehkonen was on the top power play. I mean, so was Drouin on the top power play. He still was living there. But yeah, I think I would just do, like I said, Bedard, McKinnon, and Lehkonen, and then move on to other things and eat both my center spots. I mean, Connor Bedard truly is an alien, and I don't have any problem with this matchup at all for him. I think for McKinnon to have that 50 burger, 40 burger you need here with all the guys going and a lot of really good spots, you kind of need Bedard also, I think, to get there and just something to keep it going. And again, show the guys that are playing with them. You could probably punt off one of them if they get 2 assists, or they a goal and an assist. There you go. I mean, you got
it's
good lineup.
It's super sad, but it's super sad to look at, Pavilia's game logs. Like he's come back from injury, played decent minutes, 0 shots, 1 shot, 1 shot. Like there's nothing there other than he's playing with a literal alien in Connor Bedard. So I'm not sure if that means you can one off or whatever, but yeah, I will say one
Yeah.
guy who doesn't make this list, I guess. So I'll need to maybe update, check on some things. But Colin Blackwell should play an absolute boatload here. He's on the Dickinson line, and Dickinson should be thrown at McKinnon. Um, and Colin Blackwell has,
Yep.
he's been shooting the puck a little bit. Obviously, he's not very good. So like the assist numbers, it's not like there's a ton there, but it would not shock me if he put up 15, like a goal and 3 shots. Like
I
that's
mean,
totally in the range of outcomes. He's 3K. He's about as safe as minutes come at this price. So
I can't. Yeah, I really couldn't imagine a scenario where I actually click on Seth Jones. But he has 8.6 shot attempts over his last 5 blocks, bonus shots, whatever. 6K is a ton. I don't really get it, but there's also a bit of a narrative. He grew up loving the Avalanche. I mean, if you just want to play someone that no one is going to play, that's actually been doing really well.
sure.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably find someone else. I'm sure the money could be better spent, but I did want to at least say it. He's been shooting so much.
Yep. Makes sense to me. Pittsburgh and Seattle. Pittsburgh with their newfound line of Sidney Crosby, Ricard Raquel, and Riley Smith had some decent results against Vancouver. I, I I think this is the only place I would really be willing to go in this game. I'm pretty worried about what seems to be a Andre Burakovsky injury. He left late in last game. I believe he limped off in overtime. He missed practice today. They called it maintenance, but they also said that they said basically it was maintenance, but then also dropped a quote that made me a bit more concerned that he could miss this game. And in any case, I don't really want too much exposure to Seattle, especially if Burakovsky's already banged up. We've seen this story a million times, and it usually does not end well. So, what are your thoughts on this one? Anyone interest you, particularly for their values in this game?
I mean, Raquel and Riley Smith, you already said they're playing with Crosby. Smith was not on the top power play, which I found a little bit odd because he had been there, and then all these injuries, he just still isn't back. Raquel was great. I mean, that was the main guy that found his offense over the last couple of games. 4 points in his last 2 games. I definitely understand playing a little bit of it. There's a lot of punts on this slate. A lot of guys I think are also in good spots that are cheaper or around the same price. So you don't have to. I kind of think this game I might just X out and not go down this rabbit hole in a game that I just already don't like. Erik Karlsson as well, playing a ton of minutes. Like I could see how you get to Pittsburgh, and there's also punts in this game that feel enticing, but there's, like I said, there's punts all over the board. So I think I'm just going to cross this game out entirely. There's really nothing on Seattle I'm all that interested in, and they took the power plays and put them in a blender for the 90th time this season. I just frankly think that they don't have enough guys that are good, high quality finishing NHL players. McCann's been figured out, and Bjorkstrand is the only real one. And I just they put him with the Schultz unit. I think I'm just out.
Yeah, Bjorkstrand scored his first goal in a month, which I could not believe. They said it, and I'm like, huh,
Yeah,
that's strange. So it's not like you're fading the hottest of fans in the league by fading Seattle. Puustinen is weird because he shows up here, and like you mentioned, Riley Smith not on the top power play. Puustinen was. He played 17 minutes as well in last game, and with all the injuries, it's hard to say that, like, okay, there's all these underlying rates that are solid over the last 10, and in the last 1 game he played 17 minutes versus a normal 10 to 12 minute role where he was accruing the vast majority of these underlying points. So like point per dollar wise, you could totally see that exploding into a very viable one-off. Certainly a better one-off than like Colin Blackwell as as someone who just likes to tout everyone and then complain when they hit. When Colin Blackwell scores a hat trick and Puustinen scores 3 points, I will be very sad. So,
yeah. I mean, I really do think though, at the end of the day, like my only interest ends up back on Seattle, just because there's only one player in this game above 6K, and that's Sidney Crosby. I mean, you could figure something out, but again, is there anything that again, like let's just put yourself in the situation of you're playing the 10 o'clock slate and you've decided I'm playing Seattle. I'm playing one line. Is there one line that you'd go with over the others? Or would you literally not play Seattle
I
on a 3-game
sup-
slate? Like, is it that? Because if
I
it's
mean,
that level, then let's just forget about this exercise.
I suppose it would be Schwartz, Wenberg, Bjorkstrand. But
Yeah,
yeah, I don't feel
me
great
too.
about
But
it. Just
okay.
but, yeah, okay. So
Okay.
LA, Vancouver. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I, I mean, it felt like they had this one in the bag against Pittsburgh, and Vancouver blew it. LA without Adrian Kempe changed up a lot of stuff, so this one's somewhat interesting. I mean, what side do you want to start with?
God. Yeah, I mean, let's just start with Vancouver. This is all Pedersen's fault because someone in the media has decided to help Vancouver by putting out a total false flag narrative that he wants out all of a sudden. But it's all his fault. Yeah, I mean, really the problem with Vancouver is that they were never this good to begin with, and their coach is completely coaching himself into a blender now to make this team worse. I don't know how I could get on them other than playing what I did last late, which I mean, it worked kind of, but the Miller, Besser, Suter thing, all power play, and Hronik, all power play correlated is what I went with. Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
I think you could find a way to do it. I don't know if I'm all that interested against LA here. I mean, yeah, they weren't fantastic against the Flames, but I don't know. I mean, that's the one thing here on Vancouver, and I'm really not even that interested in it.
Yeah. It's awfully concerning that basically no one here besides JT Miller makes the top underlyings list. Obviously Kempe's injured, so he'll be removed once that's accounted for. Um, and we didn't really get a ton of good options based on last game. Now, they also didn't do much good last game, so that remains to be seen. But like Arthur Kaliev played 9 minutes. Pierre-Luc Dubois did play 18, so there's theoretically some value there. But he started on the top line and got replaced by Alex Turcotte. Like, when you're getting replaced by Alex Turcotte mid game, I'm not that confident in your role going forward. So, with Adrian Kempe being injured, this team is worse. I'm not sure that they're that much worse defensively. I'm not sure though that there's really an obvious like beneficiary to those minutes that are being spread out now. So I'm finding it hard to do anything but maybe see if Turcotte sticks on the top line at 2,500 because he's a prospect, whatever. If he's relevant, I'll cover him in the Discord in more detail, but so far he's not been relevant. So I don't want to waste the time there. And then otherwise, Garland, Suter, both on that top power play. Like you said, I think those are the two spots I would go in this game. Because I don't really want to spend up on JT Miller and Brock Besser, because I do
Yeah.
respect LA defensively a good bit more than maybe the field does. So
Yeah, no, it really felt like this was PLD's big chance. Top line, top power play. He held the top power play spot, but lost that top line pretty quick. I mean, the minutes were good
yeah,
enough at his price, but man, the guy just
yeah,
might suck. I don't know. I haven't gone to the well that often. I went to it last night, and yeah, he just looks very uninspired. So uninspiring, or at least, or maybe both. So yeah, I
oh,
think that's good. I don't have a lot of love in this game, but
okay,
I have some love for Anaheim in the last one.
yeah. Let's get to Anaheim. So yeah, actually, do we know on Troy Terry? Because that's pretty big news.
Hold on, let me look if
See if our
he's still
boy
in
Derek
Yeah, I
Lee,
was gonna check. I think he said he could was still day to day today,
he
but
is in a non-contact jersey, so that
non-contact,
seems
right? Okay.
unlikely. Um, which
Okay. Then
means
yeah,
that based on last game, Brett Leeson will play alongside um, Vetrano and McTavish. Um, that also would mean that the power play has Sam Carrick on it. The second
too
power play, I should
crazy.
say, because that old man power play is still kicking it. Fowler, Henrique, Strom, Filterberg, Vetrano. Um, yeah, I, like
Hmm.
I gotta say, I'm a little worried about ownership coming in on an Anaheim team because San Jose just gave up a billion goals and whatever else. I get it, but man, it's tough to stomach like a McTavish, Vetrano, Leeson stack at 10% owned on each guy, and you're just like, oh, what am I doing? So, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I think that's actually the perfect way to summarize it. It's like you put this together and you're like, the Sharks suck. This is great. And then you realize you've just spent a fair enough bit of cap on just
Yeah.
there's so many good plays on this slate. And I just started by
Look,
saying I have interest in Anaheim, and I do. I really
yeah.
think, because they're trying to win. I mean, they're putting every game. I mean, they are putting out their top guys as much as possible. Part of that problem is that some of these top guys are Adam, Henrique, and Killorn, and
Yeah.
I don't have a ton of interest there. But like, who is the explosive upside? Like this example, like over the last 5, who has the most shot attempts per game on this team? And what do you think that number is?
Vetrano 5.2.
Petrano has 4.8 and McTavish has 5.2. So it's like,
Okay.
man, like I know it's a good matchup. Like, so how do you go anywhere else then? Right. So better matchup. Let's just say this magnifies it by whatever. Those two guys are all correlated. But again, that's where the ownership's coming for sure. Unequivocally. Like, man,
Yeah.
it's tough. I want to play something here.
So Brett Leeson is, a pretty unknown guy, but he started off in Washington and looked decent in Washington in his brief stay. And so far this year in Anaheim, he is among their best guys in iCourse per 60 at 5-on-5. He's sort of in the Silverberg mold with, I think, a better 5-on-5 role than Silverberg. So I could get behind one-offing either of Silverberg or Leeson. I'm not sure if I really want to stack into either because, maybe Silverberg and Fowler for that power play time. Like you're just saying, yeah, Cam Fowler absolutely sucks per minute, but he's going to get a ton of minutes and we just hope that they get a couple points. Yeah, that's about all I can say. I do like Brett Leeson as a one-off, but just be mindful of ownership because guess what? Like you getting 15 points from a 11% owned Brett Leeson really doesn't mean much if it means that McTavish and Vetrano are, both getting there as well, and you don't have them. So I'm just not sure that it makes a ton of sense, but maybe in the right lineups, McKinnon, Kucherov, or, Matthews, something or other, like, it could work out. So any interest in San Jose, I'm completely out.
Oh, 100% out. No interest at all. Okay. But yeah, I mean, it's a big enough slate that I think you could convince me that Anaheim won't be that owned. But I'm really I'm gonna have to keep my ears to the grindstone tomorrow and listen to some stuff because I do worry. Well, top stacks, guarantee goals.
Yes, I should say San Jose is back to the 5 forward top power play, so 20% owned. Henry Thrun will not happen again. So sorry in advance to the people who played run and we're just absolutely awful on Tuesday. So top stacks, guarantee goals. Let's do it.
I want to say we were 2 for 2 and 2. Did Boldly score last slate?
No,
we may have been 1 for 4, 1 for 3 then, or one out of 4, right? Because Wilson didn't score, Reinhardt didn't score. Yeah, just Forrester. Boy, I really like those. I thought we nailed it. Okay, top stacks though. Top stacks. Wow. I feel like I spent a lot of the time talking about how I didn't want to play stacks. Do you have one you want to start with, or do you want me to just
give me Vegas. I will not be deterred. Carlson, Marchessault, Shea Theodore. You can run it back with David Pastrnak, which I think will be sort of unowned relative to McKinnon and everyone else on this slate. And, again, it's going to go against the team totals, but I think there's a lot to like from both a talent standpoint, from a power play standpoint, and from just general, expected goals index over the last 10 games standpoint. So it's the moods trifecta, if you will.
All right. I think I have my both. Let me just take one quick second here to just throw in a random goalie and make sure it's not, yeah. Oh, this is totally fine. Minnesota won. Boldly, Eriksson, Ek, Kaprizov. And then do you want me to say the other one? Just rattle
them both. Go ahead.
Nachos, Bunting, Drury.
Okay. Nice. I will go with Dallas. So I'm gonna go Johnston, Stankoven, and Thomas Harley. So screw you, Jamie Benn. Just get lost. You suck. Wow. But yeah, keep an eye on that because losing 5-1 to Colorado, things could change. So yeah, guarantee goals.
Do you have any right now? I'm just actually looking down below here. Let me pull this up so I'm not looking like an idiot. We're all of our tens of viewers.
For that. Yeah, I'm gonna go Brandon
Son of a
Hagel,
gun.
5,500 against the Sabres. Playing with Kucherov. Dude is on an absolute tear, getting a ton of points. I think today's the day he has a goal and an assist, and he hit the bonus for us. So he torches the Sabres.
All right, I'll go highish, lowish. What is Brock Nelson? 63? That's not that high. I'll go Brock Nelson. So you have Hagel, Nelson. I think that's a revenge narrative, right? No, Brock Nelson, wasn't he in Detroit at one point? Is that where
Don't believe
where
so.
the heck was he before the Islanders?
I don't think
Has he
he. I
always
don't
been
think he
there?
was anywhere. I think so.
I'm
All
gonna
right.
look this up while I should be looking up other things. Do you have your other
Good.
guy?
Arturi Lehkonen, 5,100 guaranteed goal.
That is wow. That is the correct answer.
Yeah. Thank you.
Folks, he found the right answer. I
Did
leave
it.
myself with what 47, I think is the answer to the riddle of how much I have left. Give me Jake DeBrusk.
I do like that.
Give me
Okay.
Jake DeBrusk. And Brock Nelson played only for the Islanders. So,
Yeah. Okay.
who am I thinking of? I don't know.
Beats me.
Don't let it. It'll be okay.
Yeah. All right. So that'll do it. Thank you all for listening. DJ, any final words before we head into our Thursdays?
No, just follow Twitter things and like and comment and subscribe and do whatever else you want to do. And then we'll post bets and we'll win money and we'll have fun.
I can't wait. Alrighty. Thank you all for tuning in. You can find me on Twitter at Fake Moods. DJ's at DJMitchell94. The podcast is at Morningscape Pod. If you're not in the Discord yet, do get in there. You can DM one of us. It's free. It's a great community. We've got an underdog channel. We've got a main channel. We've got a betting channel. We've got other sports if you want to get one of those starting. More active. If you're a CSGO guy, or I guess it's CS2 now, and want to talk about gambling on Counter-Strike, I'm all in, baby. So yeah, there's lots to do there. And also we're on YouTube. DJ Mitchell, his YouTube channel is where this show goes live, as well as on TikTok at DFS Moods, where I try to post a clip from every show. So we'd appreciate you subscribing, following on every platform. Just show us some support and also get some good hockey content in your various feeds. So with all that said, thank you all for listening. From Doug, from DJ, from myself, have a good slate, everybody, and we will see you.